Believe it or not, an airplane can withstand turbulence that is over 100 times more severe than anything you're likely to experience. It's a comforting thought, isn't it? But let's dive a little deeper into this unsettling truth about turbulence. When we think of turbulence, our minds often conjure up images of airplanes shaking violently midair with passengers gripping tightly onto their armrests. But what exactly is turbulence? In simple terms, it's a sudden change in airflow. It can be caused by a number of factors: weather patterns, temperature differences, or even the jet stream, a high-speed air current that planes often ride for fuel efficiency. Now, why does turbulence happen? Well, air is a fluid much like water. Just as a boat on a river might encounter choppy waters or sudden currents, an airplane flying through the sky experiences similar disturbances. These air movements are largely unpredictable, making turbulence one of the unavoidable aspects of flying. But here's the thing, airplanes are built for this. They're designed and tested to endure turbulent conditions far beyond what we typically encounter during a flight. The wings of a plane, for instance, can flex up to 90% of their length without breaking. That's like bending a metal ruler back on itself without it snapping. Incredible, right? And yet, despite this remarkable resilience, turbulence can still feel frightening. It's the unexpected jolts, the sudden drops, the rattling of the overhead bins. It's the feeling of not being in control high above the ground with nothing but air beneath us. But remember, pilots are trained to handle these situations. And the aircraft, it's built to withstand them. So, if turbulence is just a normal part of flying, why does it often feel so scary? To shed light on this, we've asked a seasoned pilot, Captain John Harris, to share his insights on turbulence. With over 3 decades of experience navigating the skies, Captain Harris is no stranger to turbulence. In fact, he's seen it all, from light chop to those white-knuckle jolts that have passengers clutching their armrests. But for him, and most pilots, turbulence is just another part of the job. When we talk about turbulence, Captain Harris begins, we're really talking about changes in air pressure. These shifts can be caused by a variety of factors like weather, jet streams, or even the landscape below us. Think of it like sailing on a choppy sea. The boat rocks with the waves, but it doesn't capsize. It's the same with airplanes and turbulence. Captain Harris goes on to explain how pilots are trained to handle these situations. We have tools and techniques to detect areas of potential turbulence. We rely on weather reports, radar, and even information from other pilots. And when we do encounter turbulence, we adjust our flight path or altitude to minimize its impact. But what about those sudden bouts of turbulence that seem to come out of nowhere? Clear air turbulence, as it's called, can be a bit trickier to predict, admits Captain Harris. But even then, the aircraft is designed to withstand it. The key is to always keep your seatbelt fastened when seated, even if the seatbelt sign is off. In the end, Captain Harris wants to reassure us that pilots don't fear turbulence. It's part of the job, part of the sky. We respect it, we're trained for it, and we're always prepared for it. It might cause a bit of a bumpy ride, but it doesn't compromise the safety of the flight. Just like sailors navigating stormy seas, pilots are well-equipped and well-prepared to handle any turbulence that comes their way. As passengers, it's important to remember that these professionals are doing everything they can to ensure a safe and comfortable journey. As Captain Harris pointed out, pilots view turbulence as a convenience issue, not a safety issue. Despite the unsettling feeling it produces, turbulence is a routine, manageable part of flying. Now let's address the elephant in the room, or rather the turbulence in the sky. It's the bump and shake that makes our hearts race, our hands clutch the armrests, and our minds run wild with worst-case scenarios. But is turbulence as dangerous as it feels? The short answer is no. While turbulence can be uncomfortable, it's not typically a cause for alarm. In fact, turbulence is a common occurrence in air travel. It's equivalent to hitting a pothole on a road, jarring perhaps, but not life-threatening. Many of us harbor misconceptions about turbulence, often fueled by what we see in movies or hear in anecdotes. We might imagine the airplane plummeting thousands of feet or flipping over mid-air. In reality, during turbulence, a plane might only drop about 20 to 50 feet, a minuscule amount considering that planes fly at altitudes of 35,000 feet or more. Here's another comforting fact. Airplanes are designed to withstand even the most severe turbulence. The wings of an airplane, for example, can flex up to 90% of their length without breaking. That's like a gymnast being able to do the splits. Impressive, isn't it? Pilots also have extensive training to handle turbulence. They can often predict when and where turbulence will occur, and can adjust the flight path accordingly. Moreover, the autopilot system, which is a marvel of modern technology, can help maintain the plane's stability during those bumpy moments. According to the Federal Aviation Administration, only about 58 passengers a year out of the hundreds of millions who fly are injured by turbulence. And most of these injuries occur because passengers were not wearing their seatbelts when the turbulence hit. So, while turbulence might give you a fright, the reality is far less terrifying than the fear. It's a part of flying, as routine as the in-flight safety demonstration or the sound of the landing gear being retracted. So next time you're buckling up and the plane starts to shake, remember, it's just a bumpy air road. Now that we've eased your mind about turbulence, here are a few tips to make your next flight more comfortable. Firstly, seat selection can play a significant role in how much you feel the turbulence. The area over the wings, being closer to the plane's center of gravity, usually experiences less motion than the front or back. So, when booking your flight, try to nab a seat over the wings for a smoother ride. Next, let's talk about the importance of the seatbelt. Even when the seatbelt sign is off, it's a good idea to keep it fastened. Unexpected turbulence can occur, and your seatbelt is your first line of defense. Think of it as your personal safety tether, keeping you secure in your seat. It's not just about following flight protocol, but about ensuring your own safety. Now, onto the power of distractions. Turbulence can be less of a bother if your mind is occupied. Watching a movie, listening to music, or getting lost in a good book can take your mind off the bumps and shakes. If you're engrossed in the latest blockbuster or an intriguing podcast, you'll hardly notice the turbulence. Another tip is to use deep breathing or meditation techniques. Sometimes the anxiety of turbulence can be more troublesome than the turbulence itself. Breathing exercises can help calm your nerves and reduce anxiety. Just inhale deeply, hold for a few seconds, and exhale slowly. Repeat this process until you feel more relaxed. Finally, remember to hydrate. Air travel can be dehydrating, which can exacerbate feelings of discomfort or anxiety. So, drink plenty of water, but avoid alcohol and caffeine as they can dehydrate you further. With these tips in mind, we hope your next flight will be a smoother and more enjoyable experience.